Hi guys, just got a call from a friend of mine from France. He's just run to the mountains. He says that it's all going nuts over in France. I said, what's happened to the Gilets jaunes? He says, there's no leader, everybody, they don't have any goal, they don't know what they're doing. And this is part of the problem, about leaders, is that, I don't think we really understand what a leader is anymore, because I think that all the history books talk about corrupt leaders, corrupt kings. I was watching King Arthur, Legend of the Sword by Guy Ritchie the other day. It's got some bad type of reactions to it. So only like 6.7. But Ricardo Bosi goes, you've got to watch the film. You've got to watch it. It's a really good film. You've got to watch it. And I thought, he goes, it's about a boy that's learning to become a man. Like one of those growing films, like J.D. Salinger, Catcher in the Rye, or Steppenwolf by Herman Hesse. They're all those sort of books of coming of age. And it's about a boy that, obviously Arthur, who ends up in a whorehouse, lucky boy. And he's got a responsibility that he's the king of England. And he doesn't really want it, but he's forced to take it because that is his decision, I suppose, before he came to this earth. And so what's happening is that we are finding ourselves in a position where we really need to start taking responsibility of what our mission on earth actually really is. Some of us might not know, some of us might not have come into it, but my friend was saying, only 5% of the French people are awake, all of the rest are asleep. It's alright mate, I'm going. Got a little doggy here, he's barking at me. He's going, I don't like you. Don't stop here. Move on. He's asking me for my vaccine certificate. You asking me for my vaccine certificate, mate? Yeah, he's gone now. So where was I? So yeah, my friend he's run to the Pyrenees. He's run to the mountains. And it's quite strange because I'm absolutely sure. This is my prophecy, right? I'm going to give you my prophecy. My prophecy is this. A lot of people are going to leave Europe, I reckon. They're going to leave. There was the prophecy, I forget what his name was. He's like banned in South Africa by the parliament. I can't remember, because they think it's like anti-black or something like that. I can't remember his name. I don't think he's called the Sleeping Prophet. I think that was Edgar Cayce, but he's another one. He's got like a Dutch name. And I think he said that South Africa's going to turn into ruin, and then it's going to be saved by people coming from Europe. And I'm just wondering if South Africa might descend into a helpless society, and the problems in Europe will push the white people from there out, and they'll seek refuge, and they'll go to South Africa, and they might support, a system whereby they calm and harmonize the place down a little bit. But we can definitely see that things are starting to get a little bit eggy around the place. So how do people, instead of like being a scaremonger and saying, all of these things that are going to happen, I'm just sort of giving out fear, and I'm like making people, think that terrible things are coming, and, everything like that. The looming definition of the Armageddon, because obviously we are in Armageddon, but I don't think Armageddon is something we need to perhaps be scared of as much as the Christians purport the Armageddon to be. It might be a bit of a washing, but I think it's about being strong. So if you don't know what to do, because my friend was saying, he goes, what do I do? He goes, there's only 3 things to do: take up arms, get food supplies, and run to the country. So what do you do? And I think that there's time at the moment to get ready and to prepare. I think there's some years left in order to change the path that you're on. And he was saying only 5% of the French people are awake. Everyone else is dead. Everyone else is going. Everyone else is a zombie. This is the zombie apocalypse, because the people. It's not that the people don't think. It's that the people think exactly how the cult wants them to think. So they are thinking, but they're not thinking how the awakened people think. And so what's happening is that there is this general cult which has been in the system for thousands of years, and which comes through into our brains through our education and the media and the society around us. And so you need to clean, you got to clean your mind. And that's quite a hard thing to do. But going back to, for instance, cowardice, there's nothing worse than people who know what's going on and do nothing. They are the cowards. I'm just going to change the settings for the brightness. I need light. Where's God when you need him? So, what was I saying? I hate it when that happens because I just forget my train of thought. So what was I saying? So you've got to be strong. So cowardice, right? So there's nothing worse than people who know what's going on and don't do anything. And I said in my last video, I said, look, guys, just make a tiny little stand against the system. You know, it might be just, you know, telling a police officer that you're not happy with them, or you know, doing rubbing out a QR code. I don't know, just something small, just to show that you're not happy. I think that's quite a good starting point for the people that are scared, because what's coming is not for the weak, you know. And you see the people, you know, like people like me talking at the camera and saying, you know, you got to stand up and you got to do all this stuff and da 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 da. But how do people like me feel? You know, well, we're very unsettled about what's going on as well. You know, we're in the same boat as you. Just because we stand up and say things doesn't mean we know exactly what's going on. We're just trying to get information out. So I think to help people, I'm just going to change the color again. Where's God when you need him? There's the light. Okay, so I think that what you need to do is you need to start changing your lifestyle. You know, food, because food influences you. It influences your mind. It influences the way you think. It influences all sorts of stuff. So start changing your food. Start changing the medicines that you put into your body. You know, if you're putting chemicals in, try to change to something natural. Try to change what you're reading. Try to change your work. Try to change all of these things. And try to, if you can, get onto a path which is more harmonious with what you're doing, or where you want to go, so you can raise the vibrations. And the vibrations, like people that vibrate differently or on different levels, different things come into their path. They pull different things into their path. So if you want good things to come into your life, you've got to vibrate at a different level. That's why drugs create so many problems, because they bring your vibrations down, and then whatever happens, you always end up in trouble. It's just a vibration, and the drugs do that. So what you've got to do is you've got to try and get your vibrations up high, so that good things come into your life. So that's one solution. I think that definitely for the future you're going to have a farm. Now, I heard somewhere that they had done, this is like going back a couple of years, this is like going back 5 years or 7 years, that some people were growing vegetables in their garden and they were stopped by the government. They weren't allowed to do it. Now, this is quite interesting, because if there's a problem with the food supply and people start growing stuff in their gardens, maybe the government are going to start taking that stuff away. Maybe they're going to ban it. Maybe they don't want people to have food, because if people are hungry, people will do more or they will comply more to get food. And when people don't have food, I think I read the MI5 documents. They said something on the lines of, if someone doesn't have food, it takes them 3 days to start stealing, 4 days to kill someone, and then 7 days to turn to cannibalism, something like that. And so what they're doing by taking the food away is they're turning humans into demons. All right, I just need a bit of darkness now. Yeah, get those conspiracy theorists saying he's in league with the devil, he's called for darkness. Dude, when it's too bright, you need a bit of darkness. When there's too much God, yeah, you need some chocolate with sugar, black chocolate that hasn't been diluted with milk. Anyway, that's something else. So yeah, you're going to have to get your farms. Farms are really important, I think, and having land to grow your food, because they definitely want to take down the food system. Ice Age Farmer, he does a lot of work, you know, to sort of expose, you know, how the food chain is being destroyed, and they're doing it on purpose. A lot of people that don't want the V at XX work in the global food travel business. You know, people at ports, people on boats. You know, if they don't want to inject themselves with liquids, then then that shipping lines, they closed down. So the other thing I wanted to say is, I was talking about King Arthur, wasn't I? Look, in that film, right, the king, he's got Excalibur, and Excalibur is a magical sword, and when he takes it, it's a bit like Lord of the Rings. He goes into this like different world where I suppose time's different, and he speeds up and he can kill lots of people. But what it's actually saying is that the sword which chooses him has power which allows him to go into different dimensions to complete things. And so the king has power to go into different dimensions to do things. And when you go into different dimensions, you see Excalibur, it was always talking about beating people up and killing people. What Guy Ritchie didn't focus on was wisdom. He never showed how wisdom, because wisdom is consciousness. That's the most important thing, because if you want to rule, you have to rule with consciousness, with God, with love, if you like. But, not like an eco-warrior, BLM, Black Lives Matter, I don't know, feminist, transgender sort of like love. I'm talking about love from consciousness, real love, which encompasses all of those people that I just talked about, but they don't rule. Consciousness rules. And so I think that in the past, when you were a king, I think it was actually probably a type of shaman king. It was a type of a priest king. It was somebody that had access to the other worlds to communicate with him and to guide him in his decisions over the people on earth. And the nobles were probably like that as well. They were probably descendants of elders that had abilities. When those abilities were stopped for whatever reason, I wonder if it was the killing of Hypatia. I wonder if it was the burning of Alexandria. I wonder if it was burning of any of those remarkable libraries and mystery schools from the Greeks and the Romans and Egypt and Babylon. I wonder if it had anything to do with that. But anyway, when we lost our link to God, we probably lost our ability to be guided. And now what's happened is the position is still held, but without the capacities that are needed to define the position properly. And so what happens is you get idiots you get mediocre peasants, plebites, Luddites, conscious Luddites, not that they hate technology, but they hate consciousness. All of the politicians, you ask the politicians, tell us about the mystery schools, tell us about the history of humanity, tell us about the things that make us human, tell us about other dimensions, tell us about consciousness. They can't do it because they're only interested in one thing. They go into politics to help people, out of altruistic ideas, and then what happens is they get corrupted by power and money. So if you look at Jacinda Ardern, now like the New Zealand Prime Minister, last year she was worth I think 800,000, or when she went into politics she had 800,000, which was like, I don't know, 10 years ago, whatever. She's now worth a whopping 25 million. Her pay has gone up, or her net worth has gone up 3,500%. Now how did that happen? Then you've got people like Nusrat Ghani and other politicians that end up, being in a service to public and then taking advantage of it by helping other people. Or other entities, and getting large amounts of money. I don't know, 60,000 or however much that was. But you've got to be careful of these politicians. These politicians are not our friends. These politicians seek power and they pretend. You see, when you have a female face, you never think that they're going to do anything wrong, because society set us up to think that women are the weaker, the kinder. I once did this like a little experiment. I said to a person, who's the best driver, men or women? And he goes, oh, men. And I said, if you had to have someone take your children to school, would you have a man or a woman? And he said, oh, a woman. And I said, well, if the man's the better driver, why would you have a woman do it? And you could see his brain, just like trying to think out what's going on. So women are competent. Women, when women are in paramilitary and guerrilla groups, when they go into villages, they kill the entire village, because they say that a woman has the capacity to give birth to boys that will come after them and rape them and their children. So they just kill the whole lot. The men just kill the men, but the women just kill everyone. So women, you can't, be careful what it is that you think a woman is, because you've been trained by society and shit school, to think in a certain way. And so when you've got these people, head of the IMF, Christine Lagarde, or whatever her name is, or head of the European Union, and you've got Theresa May and Margaret Thatcher, and then you've got Gillian Gillard in Australia, and you've got the Arden, bitch face Arden, whatever her name is, and they've all got like all this money. Look, I'll tell you something, right? Thatcher, and there was another woman called Edwina Currie. They both knew that there were people that were in their cabinet that were raping children, and they didn't do anything about it. There's women politicians in Australia who aren't standing up against the 27 suppression orders against paedophilia. With politicians and ex-prime ministers. I think it's Clark or something, Howard Clark or something, who's been accused. And you have people like Ricardo Bosi, and they're going, what the fuck's going on? You can't suppress that shit for 70 years. That's what they've done. They've suppressed it for 70. Why would you want to suppress, pedophile allegations? Surely these are things that should be investigated. Well, the reason is because the world is run by pedophiles. That's what happens. The world's run by pedophiles, because pedophilia is about inverting God. When you have a child is pure God. You look at them and they glow. They're not even mature. They're not responsible. They're naive. They're still in the Garden of Eden. And so they're angelic. They have a God-like energy. And so when a pedophile comes along and you rape them, what happens is on a physical and a spiritual level. It's more to do with spiritual. You are inverting that godliness. You are turning the godliness into something sick and ill. You're turning it into something else. Because if you rape a child, what they want is they want the children to grow up to become pedophiles, because they're spreading their evilness, if you like. And that's why there's a lot of pedophilia in government and churches, because where God is supposed to reside, now it's pedophilia that's residing. If you look at the Catholic Church, it's full of pedophiles. If you look at the Benedictine monasteries in England, St. Benedict's School, Downside, Ampleforth, it's full of people that have been accused of pedophilia. And so you have to ask yourself, why are there so many pedophiles within religious organizations? And it's to invert God. It's because the place where God should reside is no longer residing. And these people, even if you take the pedophiles out, they still will invite pedophiles in, because they don't understand the mind programming that they have that imbibes the institutions, because the institution is a conglomeration of different vibrations, right? So if those vibrations don't vibrate correctly, i.e. within God or consciousness, then you are going to carry on the same problem and invite the same problems back in, even if you clean it. You have to change the vibration. You've got to change the coding in the mind. You've got to change the thought patterns, because the evilness happens through thought patterns. That's how it happens. It's very subtle. It's a subtle energy which is manifested through thought, and you pass it into dimensionally, and you can do it through rape and pedophilia, and you do it through the school system. So it's basically magic. It's to do with magic and energy on a very subtle ethereal layer that then imbibes people. And then if you have a lot of people thinking the same way, then the entire world is going to vibrate at that level, and then it will manifest what it's vibrating. So you got to be very careful. So the ruling people should actually be not nobility shouldn't come through blood. Nobility shouldn't come through blood. Nobility should come through consciousness. What that means is that when somebody finishes their term in office as a lord or earl or king, the replacement should come from a conscious person, not from a bloodline. Because when you have a bloodline, you can pass negative thought patterns intergenerationally. So when people say, oh, you got this bloodline and that bloodline, I don't think it's a physical thing. I think that the bloodline is there to when the parent teaches the child, I think there's a lot of things that are being passed down through those teachings, which then manifest and can jump generations. So I don't think it's a bloodline as such, like the blood is receptive to a particular type of spirit. I think it's more to do with mind patterns, which work on energy. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about as well is mothers. Yeah, mothers. Okay, mothers. Now, mother is supposed to look after their children. So there's a lot of mothers out there who've been brainwashed. They're in the cult. And when they start losing children through, but first they'll be lied to. They'll say, oh, it's another variant, it's another variant, it's another variant. And they'll vax and vax and vax their children. And then the mothers are going to start waking up and they're going to start saying, well, this is really strange, because the unvaccinated children aren't dying. If there are any unvaccinated children left in a couple of years, because it's all closing down, it's all getting tighter, it's getting very nasty. When the mothers start realizing that they've been lied to, man, they're going to go for you doctors. They're going to rip your fucking nuts off. And if you're a bitch doctor, they're going to rip your fucking tits off. You're in big fucking trouble if you're a doctor and you've been vaccinating and telling parents to vaccinate. Because you're supposed to be independent. You don't work for the cabal, you don't work for the government. What the fuck are you doing advising people to kill their children? And they're going to come for you. This is a warning. I'm not doom and gloom. This is a solution. I'm telling you doctors, if you carry on, the parents are going to come for you. I want to talk about Hypatia. I believe her name was Hypatia. Hypatia was a female, and she was teaching people philosophy, men philosophy. God forbid a woman teaching men how to think. Fuck that. And the early Christians, they didn't like women very much. Those old Christians, they knew what a woman's place was. And so this woman, who was perhaps the last person in the lineage of the mystery schools, the Christians got her, and then they lacerated her, they stripped her, and then they got seashells, broke the seashells so they're like razor blades, and then they carved the skin from the bone. That's what they did to a woman who was teaching people how to think. That's why women shouldn't tell men how to think, because men do shit like that, especially Christian men, traditional Christian men, and people in cults. So what do you think they're going to do to a doctor? You think because you're a female doctor, the women aren't going to come for you? They're going to come for you. They're going to hurt you. I bet you there's going to be a time, because we're in 2021. We're now in December 2021. I bet you in the future, if all this comes out, no one's ever going to say that they're a doctor. They're going to be terrified, absolutely terrified of how they're going to be seen. And the police, and the military, and media people, they're all going to lie about their professions because they'll know that the public are going to come for them. Now, this ruling class, perhaps before they were the proper ruling class, or not those people or their lineages or their families, but just the office, because these positions of lord, lady, king, prince, queen, they are positions of power, they are offices. And I think that they were directly linked to consciousness once upon a time. And what they're doing is they're cutting off the consciousness with those positions. And what they're going to do is they're going to get those nobility to get all of the useless eaters, that's us, and to overpower us. And when that's done, so I just want to get my smile here. And when that's done, they're going to come for the nobility. The nobility think that they're safe. Oh, we've got our underground places, we haven't vaccinated ourselves, or whatever bullshit it is. They're going to come for you. They're going to come for you. You work for them in the meantime. And what's the meantime? The meantime is the time that they don't have machines to rule. Because the machines are going to replace. The machines are going to replace you. Now, it's not going to be a robot, like R2-D2 that comes around and squiggles something out of his mouth. No. It's going to be more like mind. They're going to get the mind, because the mind is the final frontier. They need a way to get into the mind, and when they got into the mind, they'll control you from there. They don't need lords and ladies. They need access to your mind, and they need a computer platform, and they need a power intelligence like AI or AGI in order to manipulate you. And that's what's going to happen. They don't need chips to do it, by the way. They can do it without chips. Now, I was talking about women taking their revenge on people that did this to their children. Now, we have mothers, all sorts of different mothers, but there's also something called Mother Nature. Now, if we don't get our shit into gear, Mother Nature's going to do to us what a mother would do to a doctor who's killed children, because this planet is full of animals and plants, and we are killing them. Mother Nature will stop us. Not the individual, because she can't stop the individual. She'll just stop humanity. She'll just break it up. That's what I think is going to happen. That's my other prophecy. My other prophecy is that I reckon Mother Nature, she's going to send stuff like you've never seen before. I reckon she'll send monsters. I reckon new animals are going to start flying in the air. Maybe even giants are going to start coming out. You get news reports of like 50 giants running around the countryside naked, eating people, and everyone think it's a joke. And then suddenly it will happen, and people go, what the hell is going on? And they'll suddenly realise that reality isn't what they thought, that we are actually in a computer game, because you can do that in a computer game. But because we're in Plato's cave and we believe that the shadows are the reality, when we look around us at all this nature, we believe that this is real, but it's not real. Most of it's hollow. It's a hologram. The speed at which it vibrates is the boundaries or the limitations of the matrix that we're in. So, how do you defend yourself? Well, guess what, boys and girls? Martial arts isn't going to get you very far, is it? Bruce Lee versus an AK. It's not going to work, is it? They de-armed us. They de-armed us on purpose. You know, there was all sorts of things that happened in schools with guns and children getting shot, so they just took all the guns away from everyone. Or there was people going into religious institutions and shooting people, and they just took all the guns off everyone. So now what happens is you can't defend yourself. Now, is this important? Oh, fuck yeah, it's important. I read in the papers, well, I just got the information today. They killed, or no, sorry, they didn't kill. The Dutch opened up fire with live ammunition onto protesters. Right, I thought that was going to happen in Australia. But anyway, the Dutch got there first, obviously feel insignificant. So they've decided to be the first ones to use live ammunition on people. That's not to mention France, with the people that have lost eyes, being shot in the face with beanbags or rubber bullets, they're blind. But the Dutch have now opened up. 3 people in hospital, shot. Not dead. Don't want to put fear into you guys, but that's what's happened. So the governments now are using live ammunition on people. What can the people do? No guns. You gave up your guns. You were fooled into giving up your guns. You were fooled into believing that the government was going to help you. You were fooled into believing that the government was peaceful. You were fooled into believing that you were all mature. Maybe maturity isn't giving up the gun. Maybe maturity is keeping the gun. Because when the government comes for you, you can't do anything. In the past, you know, when it was all spears and arrows and sticks and swords, you could do something. You can make your own weapons. You can't make a gun now, unless you've got a 3D printer. Maybe that's what's going to happen. Everyone's going to get 3D printers now, you know, and print their own gun. Maybe that's the only solution. I don't know. Am I advocating violence? No, I'm not. Going back to Game of Thrones, yeah, with that lady Daenerys or whatever her name is that kept taking her clothes off, that loved dragons. She wanted to go and kill loads of people with her dragons, and she was told the dragons aren't there to kill people. She goes, what the hell are they there for? And they said, look, the dragons are there to symbolise your power. And it's the same thing as the gun. The gun is not supposed to be used. It's supposed to remind the government that if they turn on the people have guns. It's to do with mathematics. He's got a gun. If I approach him, and try to kill him, he'll kill me. Better not approach him. So your gun isn't there to be used. Your gun is there to stop governments taking liberties off you. And the other thing is that in this fight in Holland, right? I can't imagine Holland of all places. Maybe the Viking blood is coming back to some cunts after all. I know the Vikings are from Denmark and Norway and Finland, but you know, maybe Holland's got a little bit of Viking blood in it still, I hope. But the people that went were youngsters, were minors. Well, where the fuck are the old people? Oh, I remember, they've all read Catcher in the Rye, haven't they? Yeah, what did J.D. Salinger say in Catcher in the Rye? Old people like to live for a worthy cause, and young people like to die for a worthy cause. No, young people die so the old people can sit on their fat fucking arses with all the fucking money that they've saved up and won't spend or give to other people and enjoy their shitty little lives. That's what's happening. You old people, you don't get up, you don't fight back, fuck your pensions. I'm the first one to take your fucking pensions away. You worked all your fucking life saving up money, building up the system, paying taxes to armed forces to go and kill 250,000 people in Afghanistan and Iraq and everywhere else, so that you can sit back on your fat fucking pension and smoke your fucking fags and eat your shitty little food and drink your coffee and then lark on about how life was. No. Your pension gets taken away, mate, by the young people who stood up and fucking fought for the failures that you caused. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. Right, I've lost my notepaper. Where's my notepaper? Where's my notepaper? So while I'm getting my notepaper, I'll talk to you about Ricardo Bosi, yeah? He let rip the other day as well.
Do your fucking homework. And on the balance of probabilities, make a decision and own it. Because the people that are going, ooh, I don't know what to do, fuck off. I fucking mean it. You fucking tossers. Grow up. Get a pair of fucking stones. If you don't trust me, go start your own fucking political party. Go save somebody. Go deliver a meal to somebody who's hungry. Go fight for some guy whose daughter's 14 years of age with fucking leukemia and the doctors are trying to fucking poison her with a jab. Because that's the shit that we do on a daily fucking basis. Controlled fucking opposition. You've been living with controlled opposition. Ring up Morrison and ask him if he's a fucking pedophile. Go on. You brave fucking keyboard warriors that never once risked a fucking thing. I spent 24 fucking years in the army protecting sickos like you, not you, David, but the fuckers that never done anything. And now my family and I have given up everything for this. Fucking Freemason. If I was a Mason, they'd have fucking hung me, my now, you dumb cunt. Fucking seriously, grow up, do your fucking research. You don't like me? I don't give a shit. I don't fucking care. Oh, don't you want votes? No, I want to save the fucking country.
So Max Egan, so I'm a little bit in the middle with Max Egan and Ricardo Bosi. I don't really know who's who and who's what. You know, who do you support or who do you not support? But they both say good things. But Ricardo just went on about Judaism and Christianity, and it just didn't fit with me, really, to be honest. I must have lost that yellow bit of paper. I must have been going off in such a rant that I've lost all my notes. Turning into a bit of a mess, isn't it? So what was I talking? Oh yeah, the Dutch. So, you know, like the Dutch, what are the Dutch about? I mean, when you think of Amsterdam, you just think of like prostitutes, sex and drugs. What the fuck are they doing? This is shooting people. That's for the French and the Spanish and the Italians, especially the Italians, because Nazism came from there, you know. The Dutch. Where have you got, you Dutch people, an inferiority complex? So anyway, so I was talking about Ricardo Bosi. So Ricardo Bosi let rip, didn't he? Ricardo Bosi and Max Egan, yeah, fell out. They fell out. But Ricardo Bosi, he's talking tough. But he's got to get rid of that spiritual Judeo-Christian stuff, yeah? And not liking the Muslim Islam stuff, yeah? It's all shit. The Christianity, Judaism and Islam, it's all shit. There's good stuff in it, but the people that run it, you got a pope, you know. A pope, you know, some of the old popes, you know, they said there's nothing better than buggering a child. Yeah? Seriously. Yeah? That's who these people are. And then you get like the Muslims about jihad and fuck it all, man. Get rid of fucking religion. Ricardo, don't do it. Yeah, change is consciousness. You need to start thinking about consciousness. That's what you got to start thinking about. So, I think that's everything for today, guys. Thanks.